Well, there is no worse fear than losing your child, and for one family, that pain is real. In just a minute, I'm going to talk with Jordan Davis's mom and dad. Police say their 17-year-old son was shot to death after an argument over loud music. Let me go ahead and bring you up to date on the case first.
It happened November 23rd. 47-year-old Michael Dunn told investigators he felt threatened at a gas station. Parked side by side with an SUV full of teenagers, the alleged gunman complained they were playing their music too loud. Detectives say Dunn confronted Davis, who was in the back seat, and told him to turn the music down. Dunn's attorney says his client thought he saw a gun, so he pulled his own weapon and started shooting, firing at least 8 shots. Davis was hit at least twice. Investigators never found a gun in the teen's car.
Not only did you shoot my son, but you tried to kill all the other 3 kids in the car.
Jordan Davis's father says the evidence and witness testimony speaks for itself. He doesn't believe Michael Dunn acted in self-defense when he shot his son. Rather, the man did it in a fit of anger.
I've seen him on television many times, but to see him physically standing before us was just... I feel so sorry for him. I feel so sorry for him because he has to bear the burden for the rest of his life.
Ron Davis wanted to make eye contact with Michael Dunn. He didn't get the opportunity.
I want him to look over at me. I want him to look at me, to understand that he's taken my life away, taking Jordan's mother away from him.
This affidavit from a recent court hearing from the state attorney's office. It includes the investigation from Mark Musser, the lead detective on the case. In it, he says although Dunn initially stated he saw the barrel of a shotgun coming from the SUV Jordan Davis and friends were riding in, quote, when advised no weapon was located, he stated he saw either a barrel or a stick.
We don't have to prove there's a gun in the car. That's been the misnomer from day one. All we have to prove is that Mr. Dunn had reasonable fear that he was going to be imminently in danger of his life or great bodily harm.
As we read further into the affidavit, the detective also talks about witness statements and says one person who saw the apparent argument over loud music, quote, heard the white male, who we now know is Michael Dunn, say, "You are not going to talk to me like that," before firing at least 9 shots into the passenger side of Davis's SUV. Investigators say as Dunn was shooting, the driver of the SUV drove away into a nearby parking lot. Then Dunn and his fiancée drove off. The boys returned about 90 seconds later and called 911. Dunn didn't.
He left the scene only because he was afraid that they were going to come back and either retaliate and shoot him or come back with other people.
I don't know what went on in that car. And I don't know what the kids or what he said to Jordan or what, I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You shot him over some music.
With me, Jordan's mom, dad, and Lucia now. Also, their attorney is with us. John Phillips is here. I guess when I saw that piece, I just saw the emotion in both of you. But in different ways, Lucia, maybe you can answer this, just the impact this death has had on you every single day from the moment you wake up.
I think about Jordan all day long, every moment of the day. It's especially difficult when, I see young men that were Jordan's age or Jordan's likeness, to always look at them and say, wow, he reminds me of Jordan. A lot of Jordan's friends are graduating from high school now and they're going on to college. And it's just bitter moment for me because I know Jordan won't graduate. I know that Jordan doesn't get to go on and fulfill all of his dreams. Every day, I know that he's with the Lord. Every day, I know he's in heaven. But it doesn't make it any easier to physically not have him here.
Speaking of that, doesn't make it any easier. Being in that courtroom every single day when this trial begins, now I'm told September 23rd. Ron, you were really strong in that interview. You said you want to look this man in the eye. Explain to me why do you want to be there? How are you going to get through that looking at him?
We were actually in a hearing a little while ago, and I got a chance to look him in the eye.
during the intermission, and we stood face to face, and he had no remorse in his face whatsoever. And when he looked over at his family, he started to smile. And when he did that, something just came over me, and I started walking toward him. And I noticed that the police that were there to guard him, they were looking at me real hard. And as I was getting closer, it was just like something inside of me just kept moving me toward him. And we got within probably about 5 or 6 feet of each other, you know, before...
What did you want to do to him?
I just want him to understand the pain, to see the pain in my eyes, you know. That's what I wanted him to understand. Violence against this man from me wouldn't be just. It wouldn't do it, you know. And I tell people all the time, the victims of family violence, don't you create more violence by doing that. So that's not what I wanted to do, but I want him to feel something, to understand that that was my son.
Yeah, there's been so many comparisons to the Trayvon Martin case. Rolling Stone just did this cover story, and the quote says, "If you're a black teen in Florida cranking hip-hop, a heavily armed and enraged Tea Partier can gun you down in broad daylight, and he just might get away with it." Do you see this as a Trayvon Martin case, Mom?
There are a lot of similarities, of course, but the difference for us is that we know there are so many witnesses. There's so much overwhelming evidence. And, of course, Michael Dunn himself has admitted to shooting.
And we were talking about this comparison to the Trayvon Martin case, how we'll be following that as well. You know, stereotyping, gunning down a young black man, wearing a hoodie, walking late at night. Now we've got this situation. This young black man gunned down for playing his music too loud. Michael Dunn says, "I was worried about my life. I saw the barrel of a gun." But Mom, you said, "I don't want to bring up race. This man snapped." Tell me why you're taking that approach.
It's apparent that Michael Dunn is white. It's apparent that Jordan is black. But the issue is the stand your ground laws. The issue is not the racial part of it. We're not going to center and focus on that because that doesn't do any good for the country. We're not going to incite racism in this country. The bigger picture is making a change in the laws so that other individuals, not just children, but you know what's happened with Sandy Hook and Jordan and Trayvon, that this doesn't continue to happen. So it's a bigger picture, and it affects more than just, you know, it's more than a white or black issue. And that's what we're going to concentrate on because we know for the greater good that that is a better way to handle this.
And you mentioned the stand your ground law. Let's take a listen to Michael Dunn in this interrogation tape, the man that allegedly killed your son. I want to get your reaction.
Okay.
The way I see this was, I was scared for my life, and I fought back. And you guys are seeing this as murder. And so I'm wondering, maybe I should just shut up.
John, I see you shake your head. Why?
Maybe he should just shut up. You know, here's a guy that talked 2 hours and has been very proud of what he did, which is the empowerment that Stand Your Ground gives. You know, they know that they can turn to this gun in times of strife, which used to be you could try to reason your way out of it. And now it's you can shoot your way out of it. And, you know, later on he says, well, I don't know if it was a gun or a stick. Well, I don't know if it was, you know, the windows were tinted. You know, and it's just, it's infuriating.
Michael Dunn's girlfriend, fiance, said, you know, he was fearful for his life. What do you think, Ron?
Well, and that's the problem. The fear of not knowing other cultures. You know, what I like about this Rolling Stone article is that it talked about Jordan and talked about how we raised Jordan. And people need to talk about other races. I mean, because people that don't know that African-American children wear hoods or whatever, like everybody else wear hoods, but for some reason when we wear the hoods, it's a different feeling. It's like, you know, we're thugs or whatever the case may be.
There's still a conversation to be had about stereotyping, about racism.
Right.
Even though you're saying we're not going there, there's still, as parents, to have this conversation.
That's correct. You have to have this conversation because, and I'm sure Italians have the conversation and Irish have the conversation. Everybody has some sort of conversation about race because we all live in a world where it's misunderstood. You know, the things that we do in this world can be misunderstood. If I don't like rock music, why should I go up and 4 kids playing rock music and then tell them to turn down their music at a gas station? Well, same thing. You know, he doesn't like what he considers thug music, which might be hip-hop. You know, and that's not thug music necessarily. So why would you consider yourself the law enforcement? But see, that concealed weapon tells you that you can tell other people what to do because you take care of the space around you because you have a concealed weapon.
You are strong and amazing people, and I promise you we will stay on this case, and hopefully we'll talk again.